Hi everyone, welcome to this video. This is a short video based on the questions that were given to you in the February assessment, so just last month, and because of the snow day we didn't get a chance to go through the paper. On this occasion I'm not going to get a chance to go through every single question, but I'm going to go through the questions that most of you got wrong. So and if you got some questions wrong and you don't understand why you got them wrong, please bring them to me and we'll go through them, okay? Otherwise you're not going to learn. Okay, so we're going to go through a handful of these. I'm not saying most of you got these ones wrong, but the majority, well, I think these are questions that you can make easy mistakes in, so we'll have a look at them. Okay, so we'll start with this one. Let's get my pen here. Okay, so let's have a look at how to answer this. So in a country dance there are 3 boys to 2 girls, and as I've always told you in lessons, it's always about the layout, right? So we're looking at the ratios, ratio of boys to girls, right? 3 boys to 2 girls. So all we're doing, we're writing down the information that's been given to us from the question. So we know that in a country dance there are 3 boys to every 2 girls, and the question is saying 42 boys take part in the dance. How many girls take part? So like I said to you before, and I'll say it again, it's all about the layout. If you lay it out, you'll be able to see the pattern. So now the question is, for every 3 boys there were 2 girls, so for every 42 boys there must have been this question mark here, which is going to answer the puzzle. The way we do this is we look at what number turned 3 into 42, and if you do the maths, if you do 42 divided by 3, the answer is 14. So 14, it's right there actually, so 3 times 14 makes 42, so 2 times 14, which I'm going to call my magic number, 2 times 14 is 28, so the correct answer is 28. Okay, so let's go to the next one. A and B are 2 chain wheels on a bike. This is A and this is B, so this is how I do it. I say, right, A to B, and the question says, for every 2 complete turns that wheel A makes, wheel B makes 5. Okay, for every 2 that belongs to A, 5 belong to B. So then the question is, if wheel A makes 150 turns, so we write 150 there. Now I think you know what to do. What number turns 2 into 150, or what's 150 divided by 2? The answer is 75. And if you do 5 times 75 on this side, remember whatever we do on this side we've got to do on this side, the answer is 375. Okay, so that's the answer there. And then the question says, if wheel B makes 90 turns, so let's rewrite the ratios again. A to B, we know again that for every 2 complete turns, the question hasn't changed, B makes 5. Now the question is saying that B makes 90, how many should A make? Okay, so what's the number that turns 90, turns 5 into 90? And if you do the maths, the answer is 18. So 5 times 18 makes 90, therefore 2 times 18, which is our magic number, makes 36. So this is the answer to this question. Okay, so let's have a look at another one. Right, here we go. So Mary is the presenter of a weekly radio show. She plays 5 new songs for every 2 old songs. So this is how I do it. I say, right, new songs, old songs, and she plays 5 new songs for every 2 old songs. Last week she played 15 new songs. So we need to complete the puzzle. So 5 times what is 15? 5 times 3 is 15. So 2 times 3 is 6. But the question is a bit of a tricky question, and the examiners have made this in bold, because what most people did in the test is they wrote the answer 6. They weren't reading the question properly. Right? You're not just going to you're not just going to find the answer. You're going to find, sorry, you're not just going to find the answer to this ratio. You're going to find the answer to the question. The question is, how many songs did she play altogether? So altogether means the 15 new songs and the 6 old songs. So if you add these up, you get 21. And that's the correct answer. Okay, so some of you lost marks. In fact, I don't think you got any marks if you just wrote 6. because you weren't answering the question, although this was an important step in finding out the answer. Okay, so please be careful when you are reading the question. Next one. All right, now this one was a bit of a tricky one, but if you lay it out, it's not tricky at all. So it's just understanding the question. So let's have a look at this step by step. Two numbers are in the ratio 4 to 5. So I'm going to write this here, 4 to 5. Here's my two numbers. One of the numbers is 60. So I'm going to make that 60. There are two possible values for the other number. What are the two possible values? Well, this is how you do this. So if one number, let's call this number A, let's call this number A, and let's call this number B. I know it sounds silly because they're letters, but I think you get the idea. So when A was 60, what number turns 4 into 60? And the answer is 15. So you do the same on the other side, and the answer you get is 75. So when A is 60, B is 75. Okay, so because the question says there are two possible values. On the other hand, we can have B as 60, because the question is not telling us that this number is 60 or this number is 60. It says one of the numbers is 60. So in this particular situation, this number was 60, and in this particular situation, this number is 60. Okay, so let me just delete this and write it properly. I'm just going to rewrite the ratios again. So we know it's 4 to 5. Now this one we know is 60. What number turns 5 into 60? And the answer is 12. So 12 times 5, so 5 times 12 is 60. So therefore our magic number is going to be on this side as well. So 12 times 4 is 48. So this one would go here. So our two possible answers would be 75 and 48. Okay, you've got to read the question. It's not easy language to understand, but you've got to try to see what the examiner is looking for. Okay, here's another one. A lot of you thought this was a misprint, but it wasn't, and we'll go through this now. Right, so we've got an isosceles triangle, and in one of the angles in the isosceles triangle it's 90 degrees. So let's just sketch an isosceles triangle here. Oops. And it says that one of the angles is 90, so let's make this one 90. And as you know, in an isosceles triangle, two angles are always the same. Okay, so two angles, it looks like a ghost. Alright, two angles are always the same. So if this angle is 90, and we know that the angles in a triangle always add up to 180, so out of the 180 we've already got 90. That leaves 90, because 90 taken away from 180 is 90. That means that these two angles together must add up to 90. Okay, so that makes that this angle is 45, and this one is 45. Okay, and a right angle triangle, one of the angles is 80 degrees, but because it's a right angle triangle, we know that one of the angles must be 90 degrees. That's why it's a right angle triangle. And then what you do is you add them up. So 80 plus 90 is 170, and we know that angles in a triangle always add up to 180. So that means the missing angle is 10. Okay, you've got to look for the clues. Right, now this one is where most of you thought was a misprint, and some of you, a few of you didn't answer either of these rows, and some of you just did one. Okay, but you've really got to think about this one. Okay, so here's our isosceles triangle again. Sorry about this. And here's another isosceles triangle. So this one is this isosceles triangle, this one is this one. So in this isosceles triangle, one angle is 70 degrees. So we need to find out what the other two are. If you take away 70 from 180, you get 110. 1 second. And so that means that these two together add up to 110, which makes both of them 55. Right? So this is 55, and this is 55 as well. So I would have written 55 here and 55 here. Now in this particular triangle, one angle is 70 degrees, so let's make this one 70 degrees. But because it's an isosceles triangle, you can make this one 70 degrees as well. So we're looking for, so we can say that they're both 70 degrees. Remember, an isosceles triangle has two angles the same. Okay, so 70 plus 70 is 140, and then obviously as triangles add up to 180, the missing angle is 40, because that makes it add up to 180. So that's the answer to this particular question. Right, next. This one was probably one of the easiest questions in the paper, but a lot of you probably didn't read the question properly, and I had all sorts of answers. If you got these questions right, well done. But anyhow, let's have a look at it. It says in pattern A, the ratio of black squares to grey squares is 1 to 2. And let's double check. Let's say it's 1, 2, 3. There are 3 black to grey, 3 black squares, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 grey squares, right? Which is 1 to 2. So the question is correct. Well done. Okay, so then the question says, what is the ratio of black squares to grey squares in pattern B? You've got to do the same thing. So this is pattern A. In pattern B, black to grey, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 black squares. How many grey squares do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But the question wants it simplified. Okay, so if you divide both by both numbers by 4, you get 1 to 3. So 3 would have been the correct answer here. Now this question was a percentage question, because then the question is saying what percentage of this pattern is black, right? So we're not comparing the black squares to the grey squares. We are comparing, or we are looking at the number of black squares out of the total. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 black squares in total, and there are, oops, just lost my pen here. And there are 25 of these squares in total. Okay, I counted these earlier, so I didn't want to waste time. So 7 out of 25. Remember, there's 25 black squares in 25 squares in total. Doesn't matter if they're black or grey, because it says what percentage of this pattern is black. Okay, so how do we turn this into percentage? You've all seen this in class. Percentage means out of 100%. We're looking for this number here. So what number turns 25 into 100? The answer is 4. You do the same thing at the top, and the answer would be 28. So 28% of this pattern is black. Okay, next. Right, this is obviously a strange order, but we'll have a look at this one now. This was to do with the lesson on geometry, on angles. Okay, so we're looking for angle A. We need to work this out. So it's quite simple. We know that this is a square because it tells you in the question. Okay, so if this is a square, then this must be 90 degrees, this must be 90 degrees, this must be 90 degrees, this must be 90 degrees. So we already know that this is a straight line, and we know that this is 90 degrees, right? We need to work this out, and then we can find out what A is. Okay, now obviously this is a isosceles triangle. Okay, so let's get my pen again. So if angles in a triangle add up to 180, and out of the 180 we already have 34 degrees, that means 180 minus 34 gives us 146. So these two angles here of this isosceles triangle, how do we know it's isosceles, by the way? Because we've got these lines here. That means these two angles here combined are 146. If both of them are 146, then one of them is 73. So this is 73, and this is 73. Okay, so now we've got 73 degrees, we've got 90 degrees, and we've got the whole thing, which is 180. If we add 73 and 90, we get 163. And if we subtract 163 from 180, the answer is 17. So this angle here is 17 degrees. Okay, if you didn't quite get that, because I was a bit fast, if you didn't quite get that, rewind this bit and listen to it again. And again, if you don't understand it, come to me and show it to me, and I'll go through it with you, not a problem at all. But try yourselves first. Okay, next question. Okay, in this question, oops. 1 second. Right. In this question, it's saying that 10 books in this particular shelf take up 28 centimeters. What's the average thickness of her books? I think there was the introduction mentioned a girl. Okay, so if 10 books take up 28 centimeters, then the average is going to be 28 divided by 10, okay, which is 2.8, right? So you've got to use your logic a little bit and some common sense, because if the answer you got, if you did it the other way around, or you multiplied it and your answer you got was 2,800 or something like that, which I think a couple of you did, you've got to think no books are 2,800 centimeters long. That's just massive, okay? But 2.8 centimeters does make sense. So we're satisfied that this is the correct answer. Then the question says, the shelf is 120 centimeters long. Vicky fills the shelf with a mixture of books like the first 10 books. Estimate how many books she can get onto 120 centimeter, onto the 120 centimeter shelf. So we've just got to write it as a ratio. So we can say, well, 10 books take up 28 centimeters, and because the question says estimate, so what I would do is I would say, well, 10 books take up roughly 30 centimeters, because 2.8 means 28 means it's a bit of a strange number to be dealing with. So let's round it up to 30, and the question is saying estimate. So these are our books, this is our distance or our centimeters, and then the question says how many can she get on a 120 centimeter shelf. So we do this and we do this. So what number turns 30 into 120? The answer is 4. So 10 times 4 is 40. That means it's 40. And if you look at the mark scheme, the examiners are happy to give you a mark if you picked any number between 40 and 50, okay, because it does say estimate. Next one is for you to work out the value of angle P, which is again quite simple, because this is a circle, and as you know, a circle is made up of 360 degrees. So out of the 360, we've got 100 already, because 50 plus 50 is 100, and this sign here means 90. So out of the 360, we've already got 190, and if you do the maths, the answer is 170, which looks right, because every time I get an answer, I always make sure it looks logical. Okay, so yes, this definitely does look like it's about 170, although it's not to scale, because it's not a reflex angle, because it's not more than 180 degrees, and it's not, you know, if the answer I got was 270, then I know something is wrong, because this is 180. Oops, I'm not very good at drawing straight lines, but basically something like that would be 180. Yeah, just ignore the squiggle. I think you get the idea. Right, next one. Here we are dealing with a rectangle, and in the rectangle they're asking us to measure this. It says to calculate the size of angles A and B. Do not measure the angles. Why don't we measure the angles? Because it's not to scale. If you were to measure these angles, the answer you get wouldn't be right. So you've got to look for the clues here. Now there are two ways of doing this question. The first way of doing it is, well, to know that this is a triangle, and this is 90 degrees, and this is 34 degrees, and you can work this angle out and then subtract that from 90. That's a really long way of doing it. The other way of doing it is by remembering our rules from the lesson on angles, where we looked at alternate angles and corresponding angles. And you can see one of the rules was that this makes a Z shape. Again, I'm not going to draw it because my lines are quite squiggly, but if you see, this makes a Z shape, right? And that means that if this is 34, then this must also be 34. Okay, because in a shape like this, this angle and this angle is always the same, and that's what this is. This is basically a shape like that. So here, this angle and this angle are the same. Now you've got 34 degrees, and all you've got to do is subtract 34 from 90. Why 90? Because this is a corner. This makes 90. We've got 34 already, so this makes this angle here 56 degrees. So this angle here would be 56 degrees. Okay, so those are most of the questions you got wrong. Sorry, those are the questions that most of you got wrong in the test. I'm hoping you've had a chance to go through the assessment by yourselves, especially the answers you got wrong. If you got some of these right, well done, because these questions are not easy. And I'm not giving you difficult questions because I enjoy torturing you. I'm doing it on purpose because I know that the test that you're going to have later on this year is going to be really challenging, and I'm preparing you for that. So I hope you understand. But you are capable. You just have to, as I keep on saying to every week, you've got to see the wood through the trees. All you've got to do is read the question and then apply your basic mathematics, and you will get it right. And every week when I look at your scores, I can see the majority of you getting better and better. You are improving, which is a really positive thing, and it just shows how hard you are working. So please go through the test, go through this video, and any questions which I've not covered, which you are still stuck on, by all means bring them to me next lesson, circle them, come 5-10 minutes early, and I'll be happy to go through the test with you. Okay.